Okay, back again for another project. Now this project is just a personal thing that I noticed when I was traveling in the F-150. The F-150 cabin is pretty spacious and comfortable. And as you can see, we have the truck that has the fold down center seat. And that's kind of a nice option because it allows you to have a lot of nice storage in here. This is pretty good. A couple cup holders and a little tiny tray there. What we don't like about it is when we have something to drink or, you know, a snack or whatever, this headrest down here, right down there, is kind of in the way of the extra cup holder, which is on the floor underneath that cord, and some of the wiring and USB plugs and things like that. It's just kind of in the way, and I understand it has to be there because it's a seat, but for us, we're gonna really use it very rarely as a seat, mostly just as kind of an armrest. So my wife and I talked, and we're going to eliminate the headrest. But what we'd like to do is put a tray or some sort of mount in its place. Normally get in and... Okay, when you're sitting in the truck, the windshield is more than an arm's reach away. And this GPS that they put in these trucks is not very friendly, I don't think. It doesn't really work that well. They want a ridiculous amount to upgrade it to get a new SD card. And I would like it so that my wife could use the GPS while we're driving down the road. Of course, this doesn't work when you're driving down the road because it locks out. You have to use voice commands. The voice commands don't recognize what you want to do very well. It's just bad. So the thought is to eliminate this headrest and create a tray that goes right in this section right here. That's about as wide as here, not super deep, maybe comes out to here. Doesn't interfere as much with, or doesn't interfere with the heater controls and stuff. Here we are on the passenger side, and my wife's seat's all the way back. Most of the time her seat's a little bit farther forward than this. This is where I'm talking about, taking this headrest out and building a tray that comes out somewhere around here so you can put more stuff in, maybe in about an inch or an inch and a half deep. And also has a mount on it that has a ram mount that you can screw into the side, and we can mount the Garmin GPS that we have somewhere around here. So not only that, my wife can use the Garmin GPS while we're driving, and she can point it towards me if I want to look at it. So this headrest is really on this seat tightly. It's completely different than headrests on the other seats, and it doesn't leave you a lot of space to get your hands under it. You can see it's all the way down here, tight up against the top of the seat. It's a little different than the ones on the passenger and driver seat. But to get it off, it works the same. At the base of the rod, you push in on this side, and same as this side, you push in and it pops out like that, and out it comes. You really have to shove your hand or your finger down underneath there. Both of them depress towards the passenger side. Both of these depress towards the passenger seat. That one goes that way, and of course this one's the same way. You squeeze it towards the passenger seat and it lets go of the rod. The rod has a slot that's milled into it that retains it in the seat. So then you're left over with these two things, which are exactly a 1/2 inch in diameter. Okay, here's the headrest that came out. And you can see up in the top of the headrest here on this rod, I don't know if you can see that slot milled into it right there. There's just a slot milled into the side there. Same on this one over here. And that's what retains the headrest into those holders on each side, on the right and left side. Okay, so I did this off camera. I had some 1/2 inch stainless steel from when I did the roof rack on the FJ. It's 1/2 inch in diameter. All I did was take it over to the lathe and just kind of chamfer off the end there so it'll slide in pretty easy. Same with this one, just chamfer it off the end, and then put it in the vise. Copy the angle on the rod here with just a piece of paper, then laid that paper up and traced it on there, and then with a hacksaw blade and a Dremel tool just milled those in there. One's a little longer than the other, but this is just scrap material. You can see this was used for another project. Let's go see how they fit in the seat. All right, let's put the seat up a little bit. All right, is that the right way? Let's see. Yep, I can hear that click in there. The slot, both slots go towards the passenger side. Okay, there it is. You can see that really make a nice solid base because these are in there pretty tight. All right, now that I got the flashlight on there, I can see it a little bit better. I was a little bit off. So let's put it back on here. Drilling in that unsupported end isn't the best idea, but just trying to mark the center. Okay, that'll be perfect for the 632s I'm going to put in there. All right, now that I got the two posts made to go in the headrest and the holes drilled in them, they're exactly the same length, so that's looking pretty good on that end. Now, after taking some measurements in there, that armrest is about 12 inches wide, and so I think I want to make the box about 11.5 inches wide or 12 inches wide roughly. I'm going to make it out of a piece of aluminum. So I'm going to make it 12 inches wide and about 6 inches front to back. So 12 inches side to side in the car, 6 inches roughly front to back. And I cut this piece of aluminum, just squared it up, relatively squared it up, and marked some lines on it. Now I'm going to break the corners over, so I'm going to break this over and fold it flat on that, and then I'm going to break this up. So this is 6 inches from this line to this line. You probably can't see the lines that I scribed on here, but 6 inches from this line to that line. And this will be the base of the box. Same with the sides. Now the reason I'm doubling this, not only does it make it stronger, but it gives it a nice soft edge around the top of the box. And this will fold down. I made this one about 7/8 of an inch, and then this one's 1 inch. So after this breaks over and then folds down, it'll be almost to the bottom of the box. I got to cut the corners out, and then I'm going to weld the corners into a box to make it, solid. So first thing I have to do is I have all the lines scribed on here, and I've already checked for squareness. Now I'm going to take these corners out on the bandsaw and remove any excess material I have here, so when I fold it over, they don't get in the way of each other. Alright, just deburr the edges here. Okay, not too bad. Let's see if I can fold it up without screwing it up. Here we are at the box and pan brake. First thing I want to do is fold the upper lip over. Now I am not an expert on box and pan. I barely get by on this, so if you want to, I'm sure there's probably better dudes on the internet that do this, but it's pretty flat. Guess I could roll it through the English wheel and flatten it out a little bit more on this side. I hate to use this as an anvil. Yeah, maybe I'll just roll it a couple times. Okay, I rolled it on the wheel, and that seemed to smash it down a little bit more. It really brings a lot of heft into the piece when you fold those corners over. All right, let's see. I guess the first bend we'll make is right here. And probably have to loosen up on the grip on the jaws since it's so tight. Let's see how, since there's so much material in there, let's see how it does. Let's see how that did. Okay, well, that's not going to work. Okay, that was 90, so let's see. Let's take it to 95. No. And it puts too much of a round on the bottom too, so I'm going to have to change the distance here. Okay, that's 90. With the jaw closer. Oh yeah, and that's it. Let's see if I can replicate this on the other side. Not bad. Need a little bit more though. Okay, that's good. All right, now I have to take out the tooth here and bend these ends up. See how it turns out? That's a little bit too much, but that's okay. That'll do it. Okay, let's go see what it looks like in the truck. Of course, I'm going to put a heavy base underneath this for this to screw down to those two pipes. So I'm going to use another piece of heavy gauge aluminum to make a base that goes under it to give it some more structure. So I'm going to have to bend these corners out just a little bit. I overbroke them. So I don't know if you can see how it's just a little bit past there, but we'll fix that up. I don't really like the angle. I'm going to have to change the angle on that so it's flat like that. So it looks like I'll have to put a little bit more material on the back to make it flat than the front. But that's easy to do. Just make a couple spacers. Overall, I think I kind of like it like that. Looks like it's not going to be in the way of the heater, and I'll be able to put a ram mount on the side here maybe. I don't know. I'll have to go and see what that ram mount looks like. It might be too short this way. I'm going to get my wife's opinion on this one. Okay, Lori took a look at it. She gave a thumbs up to the design of this table. So I overbent a couple of these sides. If you can see, it's just past 90 on this side, so I'm going to straighten that out a little bit. So when I go to weld it, it isn't so bad. It just flared out on the end a little bit where it wasn't supported by that piece in the brake. Okay, that's pretty straight. You can see those corners. Looks like the sides need to come in a little bit. All right, that's pretty straight. Pretty flat. Okay, good. All right, now the fun part. Clean it up and weld these corners closed. Okay, I welded the corners. I didn't show me welding because, quite frankly, I'm not a very good welder. And if you want to learn how to weld, you probably should watch welding tips and tricks or something like that. He's a professional welder, and you'll learn much more from him. You'll learn what not to do from him. All right, now we're going to smooth these welds back down, these corners down where the welds stick out, make it look a little bit better. Okay, guess I didn't put that on tight enough. All right, welded together. This is what it looks like. Pretty good. Of Ground the corners off smooth. And now I have to just make a mount for the bottom, because I'm not going to screw it directly to that frame. I'm going to make a thicker mount from the bottom of this to give it even more rigidity, because I'm going to mount a ram mount in this corner to hold a GPS or a tablet or something like that that my wife can look at for navigation or whatever. Okay, this is a piece of 6061. It's 1/4 inch. And the way the mounts are in the truck, get a marker here. Okay, the way the mounts are in the truck, if you can picture this, this is going to go underneath here to stabilize the bottom and make this stronger. I didn't want to make the whole thing out of it because it would just be ridiculous. I'm going to make just kind of a framework underneath this to bolt to it. But the two rods that come out in these headrests only extend out about 4 inches total. So they only come out about this far. But I want this to go all the way to the edge of, this framework to go all the way to the edge. So I'm going to bolt it back here, but I'm going to extend this piece past the framework so it goes out to this edge, so it's strong in these corners here where I'm going to bolt this ram mount for the GPS. So I'm going to get some measurements and lay this out and see how it looks. Alright, I'm going to lay this out so that this frame that's underneath here is a 1/2 inch back from the edges. So this is 12 inches. I made this 11, that way it's a 1/2 inch back on each side. So when I put the bolts in, they're close to the corners and close to the edge and the corner to make this the strongest it can be. Now the two rods extend out about 4 inches, so they go clear out to here. This is 5 inches, which the box is 6 inches wide. So if I center it up on the box, it'll be a 1/2 inch from each side there. I don't need all this material in here, so I don't know yet. I'll have to cut this out and see what it looks like. I think I might run 2 parallels here and then cut the extra sections out. I don't know what I'm going to do, because I don't need all of it. But then again, really is going to save that much weight. It's a headrest, for God's sake. I should just run it all the way to the end. What am I really saving? That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to, instead of laying it off a 1/2 inch on each side, I'll just run it all the way to the outside. And then I'll just edge the sides over to make it smoother. Okay, after laying that plate in there and looking at the angle, I absolutely just hate it. Just hate it. So what I'm going to do is change the angle on these mount poles. And to do that, I'm going to put them in the band. So I'm going to mark a line on here, put them in the bandsaw and equally wedge these screws so it keeps it flat. And I'm going to score this all the way through to the opposite side and then bend it down. I'm going to put it back in and bend it so they equal each other and they're flat with the mount for the seat. And then once I get that done, I'm going to weld it back together so that the angle stays in there. I really can't heat bend these. So if I do, it's going to deform the rest of this tube here. It's too close to this notch. If I had to go back and do it again, I would have bent them first and then notched them. But I can't do it because I ran out of material. But I can cut them and then stainless steel weld them back together, because I can, weld stainless steel. So let me cut those and then bend them in place. Okay, here they are. See, I cut them, bent them, fitted them in the truck, and that's the perfect bend right there. I drew a little template of them down here. Now I'm going to clamp them down to the bench and weld this closed so it stays at that angle. Stainless likes to shrink a lot when you weld it, so I'll have to really clamp this down to get it to stay. Okay, after clamping it down and welding it, looks like I got her. They're both the same. All I got to do is just clean up the welds there, polish them up. It should be good. I'll try them back in the truck and see how close I got. All right, I put the rods back in the truck, in the headrest. I just set this in there, squared it up with the top of the seat, and then used a drill bit to mark through the hole, drill bit up through those rod holes and marked 4 spots in here. Now I'm just going to drill those out and see how it looks, see how it lines up. Okay, let's go put it in the vise and drill it. Let's go see if I get lucky enough and it lines up. Wow, it did line up. It actually looks pretty straight. Okay, now I'm just going to countersink those holes. All right, that's good enough. Well, that one's not good enough. The rest are. I think I'll clip the corners of this plate because it's almost the perfect footprint for this. So I'll clip the corners and then I'm going to remove some of this material, I think. I want this to be pretty rigid because I don't want the GPS or the tablet to bounce up and down a lot. I think I'm just going to clip the corners for now. Leave the rest of this in here. Bolt the tray down to it and just see how it looks, you know, see how it works. So I'm going to bolt this. What I'm going to do is separately bolt the tray down. I don't want screws in the middle of the tray. I don't know if that makes really any difference, but I just don't like how it looks. I'm going to put my bolt holes in these 4 corners here, 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 and here. So I'll bolt this down first and then the tray will get bolted on second, like a 2-piece. I was going to tap these and bolt it down that way, but you know, over time I don't know how well these little tiny 632 screws will hold in here, you know, those stainless steel screws in this aluminum. So I'm just going to clip these corners and round everything off. That's a nice bent drill bit, huh? Wow, how did I bend that thing? Can't take a lot out of there. Once I tighten it down, it'll crush that thin material down into the countersink. So I don't want to take a lot out, or it won't even hold on to it. Let's put some bolts in, see what it looks like. Of course, these screws are entirely too long. My screw gun. But this is what I had, so. Oh man, getting irritated. Okay, well, they're still proud of the base there. If I could countersink those a little bit more. Alright, that's better. Okay, I'll do that to the other 3. Then I can take it apart. Okay, after getting this all mounted up, my wife looked at it and she's like, holy crap, that's pretty heavy. And it is pretty, I mean, it's pretty substantial. So to cut down on the amount of bouncing it's going to have, I'm going to take some material out of this, but still leave the frame for everything to bolt onto it. So I think if we leave about an inch of material on each side of the posts, or I'm sorry, an inch total, not on each side, we'll probably be in good shape. And then if we leave an inch around the perimeter between the bolts, I think if we remove this and this and this, leaving that perimeter around there, I think it'll be just fine. Okay, just connect the dots with the saber saw. We'll be good to go. All right, here's the plate that I made. This is that big 1/4 inch piece of aluminum, and all I did was, you saw me drill the holes in it, and I just cut these out with a saber saw and then painted them. I just freehanded them, so they're not perfectly straight, but it doesn't really matter. It's just going to be installed on the bottom of that box. Look this way. So now I'm going to install these. I made this so you could install these 4 bolts through here and then screw the box down to it. So let's go ahead and put it in the truck. Okay, when I painted it, I put a little bit of black silicone caulk around the perimeter there where I folded over. That way crumbs and whatever won't kind of accumulate in that corner there. I think I'm going to put a piece of anti-slip, like drawer liner or something, in the bottom there to cut down on the rattling when it's going down the road. I just used the same bolts, just cut them down so they're a little bit shorter. Let's see if this thing even fits here. And while I was doing that, I drilled this corner up here so that I could use a ram mount in it, because I think this is where I'm going to put the GPS. All right. That needs cleaned up a little bit, and try the GPS out on it. Okay. Of course, we're going to put the plug on it. Let's take a step back here so we can look at it. All right, this is what it looks like from the driver's seat. Here's the pan right here. GPS over there. Now, of course, it can be swiveled either way. You can easily reach it now. It'll plug in right down there, so no cords or anything hanging out in front, and it doesn't get in the way of the heater controls or the radio controls here. So it gives me some extra space. Like I said, I'm going to put maybe a piece of drawer liner in there to cut down on the sliding and rattling. I think it's going to work. Let's see if it slides out of the headrest like I planned it. My whole point, this was not only to make a little table here, but something that you could be removed in case somebody did want to sit here. They would be missing the headrest, but you could take it out. I took the GPS off already, so push these 2 buttons to loosen it up and just pull it straight out. It's like that. There we go. Looks just like the headrest bars. Now you could take this out. You could have a seat here if somebody wants to sit here. And when you're not having somebody sit there, you can just reinstall it, slide it in till it clicks in, and it's locked in there. I could see that being useful for not only a little table like this, but you could put a mounting bar across this headrest thing, and you could mount all kinds of gadgets across there if you wanted to. I mean, camera mount or whatever, instead of having it up on the dash. Well, that's it for the headrest table, I guess you could call it, or mount, or anyway. I hope you guys liked it. For everybody that wants to get a closer look at this, come on, focus. There's 2 bent bars. The rest of it just simple box. This mount, I mean, you probably don't need the mount, but you know, what the heck. I tried it with it. Just make a more substantial box for the top and bolt it straight to it. Probably be just as good to go.